Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas. It's me and Uncle Stevie today for the show as we're reflecting on Chelsea being crowned the best team in the world ever. Of course, after beating PSG convincingly in the Club World Cup. Back pages not only in England but across the globe saluting Enzo Maresca's team as we welcome in James Ollie and Don Hutchinson. Don, just to reflect a little bit more on what we saw in that final, Chelsea were really good.
They were amazing. I think they used PSG's strength as their weakness. The two fullbacks for PSG, bomb on, and they played Cole Palmer, not the number 10. They played them on the right-hand side, and the two wide players, him and Neto, sort of cheated and allow Mendes and Hakimi to sort of bomb forward, and then on the transition they had them in space. But I thought Caicedo was sensational. I mean, trying to stop that three-man midfield of Paris Saint-Germain, which I think is right up there with one of the best three midfielders in terms of how they complement each other. They are amazing players, an amazing team. So you've got to take your hat off to Chelsea and the work that Maresca and his players done. Fantastic performance. James,
it's your job to watch Chelsea. Were you surprised? You must have been surprised. There's no way you saw this coming.
No, not at all. I mean, they weren't particularly impressive in the group stage. And obviously the criticism all the way through, even when they were winning the knockout rounds, was, with respect to those teams, who were they playing? I mean, I was at the Benfica game, which they very nearly went out. It was kind of farcical situation, obviously, where there was a delay for 2 hours to come back to play the final few minutes. Because, of course, they were relying on Nicholas Jackson for the whole of last season. And as soon as Jackson got injured, they were suddenly thinking, well, do we play Cole Palmer through the middle? Pedro Neto tried to play through the middle. They played Tariq George there at the back end of the season, an academy kid who, again, another one with potential, but no real experience as a centre forward. Suddenly now they've got two options that you think, well, if one gets injured, the other one can come straight in. And it's a real sort of straight fight between those two. Plus, of course, Jackson remains to be seen whether he's still there in September. But at the moment, they're talking about it as if the three of them are going to fight for those, well, probably that one position leading the line.
Now, what's interesting now is how what happened at the weekend has changed the narrative somewhat around Chelsea and their role as title contenders when the season starts next month. Take a look at how the bookies had things set. This is before the Club World Cup. They're 20-1, 14-1, 10-1 before the final, 8-1 now to win the Premier League, given what we saw in that performance against PSG. But is it a bit of a poison chalice, Stevie, in the sense that, hey, if you can play like that against the best team in the world, why can't you do that week in, week out?
Well, I think we've got to go back to the guy we've just been talking about, João Pedro. That's how big a difference that having a proper centre forward makes to this team. During the season, and we sat here for most of the year, the majority of us talking about Nicholas Jackson, saying that we didn't think he was good enough. And although he did score some goals, we always kept saying, yeah, he took it well, but you can't rely on this guy. Well, this is a complete different kettle of fish. You've gone from Nicholas Jackson, who, if you're on your game and you're on top, you still don't know whether this guy's going to score. He needs 3 chances to get a goal, and he certainly doesn't get anything on his own. He's not one of those guys that creates anything for himself. And then you sign João Pedro, who does exactly the opposite. If you're on top and you're creating, he's going to score. I mean, look how he dinked the goalkeeper. That's just quality.
So we've got a 4-horse title race.
I think so, yes.
Really? Don, do you agree?
No.
Well,
no, Chelsea for me are not there yet. I think there's still areas. I think there's still areas that they need to strengthen. Robert Sanchez.
Wait. Let Steve just rewind everything he's just said.
No, let me rewind. No, I think they're the top 40. They're not. If they
so when I said to you, are they title contenders, and you said yes, João Pedro really is. Does that make that much of a difference?
I didn't mean that. No.
Well, you did say it.
Well, hold on a second. Well, if you let me finish, you'll tell you what I was going to say, right? When I retracted.
I did let you finish. Then went to Dawn, and then you had some sort of crisis.
Tell me when you. No, this absolutely will solidify them in the top 4. If they have a João Pedro.
That's not the question. No. The question is,
Chelsea won't win the title.
So they're not in the title race?
And I won't retract it. Chelsea will not win the title.
OK, all right then. Don, which Stevie do you agree with?
I think I agree with the latter, Stevie. They're not going to win the title because there's still weaknesses in their lineup. They still need a great goalkeeper. They still need, even though Robert Sanchez had a brilliant final, he played really well, and credit to him. But I think over 38 games in the Premier League, I think there's still a flaw there. I don't think Colwill and Chalobah as a two can carry Chelsea to a title.
But
I think
if they've just beaten the
teams
best team in the
above them-
world, why can't they do that week in, week
Yeah, but
out
that's-
against mediocre opposition?
Because that's a one-off game. It's a one-off game. You've got to do it in the Premier League 38 times. And I'm not convinced. And I'm not knocking Chelsea, because what they've done winning the Club World Cup is amazing for them. It'll give them great confidence, and it should do.
But is this not just them
but it's still a very young team.
Is that not just them moving on with the momentum they built up towards the end of the season, where they
Maybe.
had the best form, obviously, out of everybody? And you take a look at their record, you're almost dismissing what they did at the final end of the campaign in the Premier League and suggesting that this was an anomaly when you take a look at these stats and it was anything but.
Yeah, but I mean, can you say this Chelsea side can claw, 16 points behind Liverpool? And Liverpool tailed off the last 5 games of the season, so effectively close to 20 points. So Chelsea's going to make 20 points up on Liverpool? I don't think this season, but what I am saying is you look at Chelsea now, and they are not far away in terms of one more window, and you buy a top-class goalkeeper and a top-class centre-back. The midfield's set, wide players are set. They're still talking about Jamie Gittins. You've now got 3 number 9s if Nicholas Jackson stays. So this Chelsea team are not a million miles away.
James?
Yeah, they're not a million miles away, but I think we also have to look at the impact of this Club World Cup on the start of next season. You know, these players have got 2-3 weeks off at the most. My understanding is they won't go away again this season. Their pre-season will basically be a training block at Cobham. They've got a few games at Stamford Bridge, a couple of friendlies, I think, over a weekend just before the season starts. They've already asked the Premier League to have the start of next season delayed and pushed back. That request has been rejected. They're clearly concerned about it. You got a sense from my time out covering them in America that Maresca was already had one eye on next season, thinking about the physical load that these players are taking on. There were complaining. We all know about the heat out there, the conditions, and how draining it was for the players at the end of a very long season. I think to expect this Chelsea team, which has some new component parts we've all talked about, having to come in together and gel. And yes, they've got a bit of a head start on that by playing out in this Club World Cup, but it's going to be different in the Premier League, having to do it week in, week out. To expect that team to start well and maintain a form over 38 games, it feels a little bit too early for them, especially when you consider they've got Champions League football next year. You know, the Conference League they had last season, and there's a bit of stat padding going on in that graphic you showed earlier, because of course the second half of last season they were playing, Farmers 11s every other week in the European third-tier competition. So there is an issue there that they've got to go back to the Champions League, where they're not going to be able to rotate an entire 11. They can't leave Cole Palmer out of the whole group phase like they did with the Conference League. That is a big step up for them to handle, not just the physical load that is going to be a consequence of this Club World Cup, but also the Champions League. It just feels too much to expect this squad from where they are now to go and win the Premier League next season.
Right then, Blues fans, the football world's gone absolutely mental after our Club World Cup triumph, and the debate's raging. Are we genuine title contenders or just getting ahead of ourselves? The bookies have slashed our odds from 20-1 down to 8-1 for the Premier League, and suddenly everyone's talking about a 4-horse title race. João Pedro's arrival has completely transformed our attack. We've gone from Nicholas Jackson needing 3 chances to score 1 goal to having a proper finisher who creates his own opportunities and tucks away everything that comes his way. But here's the reality check. The pundits are split right down the middle. Some are saying we're not far away, just need a top-class goalkeeper and centre-back to challenge properly. Others reckon we're still a season away, pointing to the brutal schedule ahead with Champions League football returning and the physical toll from that Club World Cup, meaning our lads get barely 3 weeks off. The truth? We've just beaten the best team in the world, but doing it once in a final is very different from grinding out results over 38 Premier League games. We're building something special at Stamford Bridge, but whether that something's ready to challenge City and Liverpool this season, well, that's the million-pound question every Chelsea fan's asking right now. Tentar novamente o Claude pode cometer erros. Confira sempre as respostas.